Welcome to Inspiration Inc., a brand new series featuring luminaries from India who have inspired generations with their achievements and aura. We bring you beyond the boardroom conversations and witness the other side of these legends.
Welcome to Inspiration Inc. I have a very special guest with me today. I personally call him Gentle Giant of Dalal Street. And I am sure he will not like this name. By the way, I have Mr. Nilesh Shah with me, MD and CEO of Kotak AMC. Sir, thank you so much for joining us. There is a reason I personally refer to you as Gentle Giant because, if we look at your journey, you have, I think, covered so many verticals and so many asset classes in your journey. And you are obviously a name to reckon with when it comes to Dalal Street. But still you remain very humble to an extent that sometimes people take it as your weakness. So what makes you so humble?
So I'm basically a very, very arrogant person.
I don't think so. I have known you for so many years.
But every time I try to show arrogance, market brings me down. So then I've realized that in market, it's better to be gentle than arrogant. In Gujarati, there is a proverb which says that Abhiman to Raja Ravan nu bhi notu takyo.
Right.
Ravan was a very learned person, very rich person,
Stronger than
very
Ram.
strong person, and yet he lost because he was arrogant. And in Dalal Street, if you are arrogant, you become history. So the key to survival is to be humble.
No, but I have come across so many people who start believing somewhere that they have mastered the markets. But even in your market analysis, in your market commentary, there is no undertone of I know everything about markets and all. So in a way, I think you constantly remain in learning stage, which is very important. So how do you manage that?
So we are in the age of disruption. Bhavish Agarwal of Oyo Rooms has more market capitalization than hotel companies which are in existence for 100 years. If you won't be humble, if you won't be nimble, you will become history very soon. And in my selfish interest, I am interested in prolonging my career. So I better learn, I better read, I better interact with smarter people so that I can also become smarter. There's no substitute to learning in Dalal Street.
I'm going to ask you a couple of very personal questions, and the reason I want to ask those questions is because I know for a fact that your journey is very inspirational, and you come from a very humble background. When you were studying, I think those were not very pleasant days for you and your family, and you still managed to excel on your own. I remember that conversation we had offline. Can you just share that
Sure.
part?
So I lost my father at a very young age, and my mother had to work to ensure that we go to study. But we were studying in a vernacular medium school. We were staying in a chawl system of Kalba Devi Road. And there were so many good guys who came and supported us. Someone paid my fees, someone ensured that we had food to eat. So those were tough days, no doubt about it. But there was one thing very clear which my mother had told me, that you have to study. Because learning and education is your passport to success. And fortunately, by the grace of God or my mother's blessings, we excelled in study. I was always topper of my school. I went from vernacular medium to English medium college. I failed for the first time in my life and the last time in my life in English subject. And that was a wake-up call. I just could not have taken the excuse that because I was in vernacular medium school, I had the liberty of failing.
Right.
I didn't have a choice. I needed to be professionally qualified, and if that means I had to learn English, so be it. And from that day, I have never failed in any exam. I topped my college days despite being from vernacular medium. I topped my chartered accountancy course. I couldn't top cost accountancy course because I gave two different groups, but combined I would have topped that also. So for me, my passport to success was education.
Are you doing what you always wanted to do? Because obviously there are multiple career options that one has in front of them after being a topper in something like chartered accountancy and cost accounting and all. So is this what you always wanted to do?
When I topped my CA, I had no idea what I will do. I just wanted to secure myself with some salary a better salary than what we were earlier getting in chartered accountancy course. And I went to one of the company where someone selected me, offered the job, and then also gave the advice that Nilesh, I won't recommend you to join this. He says this is the company job where you will become very comfortable in life. It was in a factory. He said there will be a bus which will pick you up from your home. You will come and work here. You will have good food to eat over here, good work to do. And the evening you will go back to your home. Try to go into financial market where there is so much opportunity. Don't go to the comfort zone, go into the turmoil. Don't stand at the shore, go into the middle of the sea. If you are good, you will swim. If bad, then you will sink, but then you should not have any regret. And I think that was a great opportunity for me, and I really thank that gentleman who gave me the right advice. Remaining in turmoil, remaining at the cutting edge, rather than being on the safety of the seashore. And that has worked well. So take risk, put your best effort in managing the risk, get good mentorship, connect in the market with some really good friends, and learn from them. And that's the way you will be able to ride over the market volatility.
You also read a lot?
Yes, every day about 2 hours goes into reading.
Where do you get those 2 hours from? I have been struggling to find 1 hour to read.
It's again like when you do something which you don't enjoy, 2 hours look like 4 hours. And when you do something which you enjoy, 4 hours look like 4 minutes. Reading has become part and parcel of my thing.
Daily routine.
It's daily routine. I will, as a kid when I used to go and, eat bhel on the street, before eating the bhel, I will read the paper in which it was. So it has become part and parcel of the DNA. So I can read wherever I want to. I can read in aeroplane, I can read in, walking, going to meet client.
So who's your biggest influencer in market? Who has influenced your way of thinking about markets?
So one, in the 90s when I joined ICICI, there were many mentors who taught me how to understand market. We traded in debt market, we indulged in intercorporate deposits. So there were incredibly good amount of mentors at ICICI Securities which helped me shape whatever knowledge I possess today. Then came to Templeton. It again was fixed income, then equity, and then again back to fixed income. So Templeton taught me the value of the process. In those days, my fixed income funds were delivering better return than peers and better return than equity, and I thought I was the god. And one of my boss said that, Nilesh, you have to write an investment process note and you have to put a risk manual. And my arrogant answer was that I am your investment manual and I am your risk manager. Just look at my performance. I said that, not necessarily in that arrogant manner, but the underlying tone was that, boss, I am the guy. I know everything. What do you want me to write? Just look at my performance. And I'm really thankful to him because he didn't throw me out. He didn't fire me. He actually made me sit saying that, Nilesh, today you are managing 300 crore. Tomorrow you will manage 30,000 crore. Today you are managing everything. Tomorrow you will have people managing. Today you are at the top of the market cycle. Tomorrow you will be at the bottom. So how will you handle this? And which is where this process is important, which is where this risk management is important. And I think I learned from that it is so important to be disciplined. It's so important to be process driven. It's not talent alone which will help you outperform the market. It is talent with discipline which will help you outperform the market.
You also use a lot of mythology in your articles, in your columns, the way you explain things, and even, I mean, I have seen it in investor camps also, you do that. So do you have really keen interest in mythology, or is it because it's very popular in India, so it becomes easier to explain a concept?
So I was a vociferous reader, and I had a library next door to my house where I would have read virtually every book twice or thrice.
Okay.
And in that library, because it was funded by a textile community, there were many religious books. And by luck or otherwise, I kept on reading them: Mahabharata, Ramayana, Gita, Krishna Avatar. Uh, and somewhere, you started getting connected to it. Some of the problems which we face in the market, the solutions are already there in the mythological books or the scriptures. And then I thought that, okay, if people are not able to understand my jargon, and there is a set of people who don't really like, communication of cricket and Bollywood alone, they want serious communication, then mythology was one best example. And it started getting connected to people. So using mythology, cricket and Bollywood, we try to communicate to investors in a language which they can understand. Our whole mission is that we want people to be long-term investor, we want people to be regular investor, and we want people to be disciplined investor.
I'll ask you the following question, which is, who is your favorite mythological character, first of all? Who is your favorite cricketer? And who is your favorite Bollywood actor?
So in mythology, I have always liked Krishna, intrigued by how he has managed so many difficult situations. On one side, he is Natkat Kanhaiya. On the other side, he is in complete love with Radha. On third side, he is master manipulator, managing everything in Mahabharata. On the fourth side, he has completely different dimension. So the sheer complexity of Krishna and the message ultimately which he delivers in Gita, clearly he becomes favorite. In terms of cricket, my liking keeps on changing with the passage of time.
Depending on performance.
Depending upon performance, and there is always recency bias.
Yeah.
So right now I like Virat Kohli, the way he is playing. But before that, Sachin Tendulkar was a favorite. And before that, I was in love with Kapil Dev. And before that, it was Sunil Gavaskar. So as the transition happened, yes, things have changed. And the good part is that you don't have to adore one. There are so many good people there which you can copy. In terms of actor, Bollywood, there's only one person, Amitabh Bachchan.
In your investment philosophy, and this time you can't shy away from naming a stock or a company. So tell me a Sachin Tendulkar or Amitabh kind of stock or an investment which has remained your all-time favorite pick, which you still remember or which you would love to give example to people of.
I have applied in HDFC Bank IPO. I applied simply because I thought if HDFC is starting a bank, it will do well. And till today, I'm holding that shares in physical format. I haven't dematerialized it because I'm afraid that if I dematerialized it, I might would have sold it. I just didn't want to take that chance. It's a great company. It's doing well. Of course, it has given me, ups and downs.
Yeah.
But I just want to stay with that firm.
When it comes to retail investors, and now that you have seen their journey, though I'm surprised that you are still holding a physical format shares and not demat, but do you think people like you and so many of you who are in the business of simplifying investment principles and jargons for investors, or people like us, the media people, they've been successful in doing this?
When I started in 97 advocating mutual fund, there were many places from where we were asked to go because we didn't give guaranteed return, we were not assuring any return. So after 2 minutes, 3 minutes conversation, there were many places where we were told that by bhago aap yahan se.
Markets were considered casino also then.
Markets were considered casino. There was an example of a big IPO by a mutual fund which didn't do well. And then concept was not familiar. So there was a lot of rejection. And if you used to get one SIP application of even 1,000 rupee, there used to be a cake cutting in office. In 2000, there was a disaster in telecom, media and technology bubble. And I still remember, though I was not managing equity fund then, there were many places in Mumbai where posters of fund managers were put saying that these are the people who have destroyed money. Post that 2008, there was another destructions in the value of the mutual funds. I was CIO then, and it was a tough time facing investors. I still remember in one of the conference someone introduced saying that these are the masters of the market, and I had to correct him saying that if we were masters of the market, we would not have created so much destruction of wealth. So we are still student of the market, and please don't introduce us as masters of the market. You might think it was humble. For me, it was an insurance policy because anyway public pitai karne wali thi.
You gave a disclosure.
So I gave a disclosure firsthand. So over this journey, I have faced many rejections. But today we have reached a stage, courtesy over last 20 years of work, where people have started appreciating the message. And today it is really heartening when you walk out, you get recognized and you get blessed by people. In some sense, at this stage of my life, if I leave this job and manage my own money, I'll do far more than what I am earning today. I'll have to work much less harder than what I'm working today. So this job is no longer about money, it's about getting the blessings, it's about spreading and making people wealthy.
So which is the most influential book that you have read, and who's the most influential person in your life? Not necessarily from markets, it could be anybody.
So when I was a kid, I had heard this story and which remained with me. There was a person walking in the heaven. As he was approaching heaven, the God asked him whom do you follow? And he said, sir, I acquire good things from everyone.
Everybody.
And then the God said, that's the right way. Somewhere this has remained in the mind that you should acquire knowledge from everyone. And after coming to market, I have realized that it's so important to acquire knowledge from everyone. And I'll give you a very recent incident. In one of the conference, someone introduced me to a young kid and said, Nilesh Bhai, he is a good investor. And I looked at his age and I thought he an investor. So I asked him where are you coming from? And he gave a northern Indian city name. And I said, उस city में तो मतलब कौन equity investment करता होगा? मतलब equity investment is the domain of Gujaratis, Marwadis. ये कहाँ North India में बैठ के कर रहा होगा? But by God's grace, I was engaged in conversation with him. And then he talked about one company and the way he investigated that company, the way he researched that company. And I learned so much from him. That kid could teach me a lot about how to investigate and research a company. And that's after spending 25 years in market. So don't have one idol. Learn good from wherever it is available. Be humble to receive that goodness. That will only make you better.
So you are a firm believer of India's story. And I have always seen the only time I find you aggressive is when you have to defend India's story. That has been your pattern for so many years now. So what makes you believe in India so strongly? And if you were to give a message, especially to the youngsters who are watching this show, what would that be?
So one, by reading history, I have realized how India succeeded and failed. Before 18th century, India was 25% of global GDP, more or less. We were the country where people were coming in. Our Ramji Bhai, Samji Bhai didn't have to go in search of America or Europe.
They had to come.
The Vasco da Gama's and Christopher Columbus equivalents had to come from Europe to India because we were so ki chidiya. And then we made couple of errors. One, we missed industrial revolution. That straightway put us behind. Then we were not united, so colonization happened. And then series of economic policies were taken which resulted into India kind of getting weaker and weaker, marginalized. And while there are social angles, political angles, being a student of economy, I realized that we adopted economic policies which were not conducive for our growth, and which is where Japan went past us, Korea went past us, Taiwan, Philippines, Thailand, Malaysia, they all went past us. Today we are at a stage where 2010 we were ahead of Bangladesh in per capita GDP. In 2020, Bangladesh will be ahead of India in per capita GDP. We will be now competing with Afghanistan and Nepal if we don't bring our house in order. And I'm a very, very small fry. My contribution will be in decimal points. But whatever I want to contribute. In Ramayana, there's this story about a squirrel who was carrying stones to put it into the gap when the monkeys were building the bridge to Lanka. And one of the monkey actually said that, don't do this, otherwise you will get crushed. And squirrel said, but I want to contribute. So I am that squirrel who want to contribute to India's growth, India's progress. I don't want my kids to live in a country where we will be competing with Nepal and Afghanistan. I want them to live in a country where we will be competing with Korea and Japan. And it's possible. It's just that we have to adopt appropriate policies. Over the last 15-20 years, in 1990, we saw liberalization. In 2000, we saw technology and media taking off. Now we have seen GST and insolvency and bank board. So there is a platform which is being laid and which gives me confidence that we will now take off and we will capture the place where we should belong to. And as a squirrel, if I can contribute with some stones, why not make an attempt?
That's a very humble but still very inspiring answer, Nilesh. Thank you so much. And I must admit that this has been one of the most interesting and inspirational conversation that I have had as a part of this series. Thank you so much, Nilesh.
Thank you.
Thank you.